Greetings to all Africans. This is King H. I want to have a discussion about an article that I came across. There have been many things happening inside South Africa, but there's one particular article that I wanted to address because, in a way, it gives a better perspective of what is happening in South Africa, which is also related to what is happening in Africa, and also related to what's happening to global Africa in general. So this discussion touches based on global Africa or global Africans across the world. This is King H. Now, the title of this article that I want to have a discussion about is majority of whites hold same views as the Klerk on apartheid. Even though the title reads majority of whites hold same views as the Klerk on apartheid, I would say all whites in South Africa hold the same view, not just majority, all whites in South Africa hold the same view. And if the fact that the Klerk could say that apartheid wasn't a crime against humanity tells a whole lot about what is happening. And I'll break it down and give a different perspective, a different point of view to make African understand that we're living in a world where the humanity of Africa is not in the same level as the humanity of whites in the world, or the humanity of Indians in the world, or the humanity of any other races in the world. The fact that human beings in general, being black, Indian, Asian, or whatever race you are, that we are a human family, and we should view that as human family. It's a fallacy, because the leaders of the world, or the Western leaders of the world, all the other leaders in the world, do not view all human race as the same family, as one family. They may say that all races are one family, but we have categories. And this is what Africans must open their head and understand, that black people are not the same as white people. Black people are not the same as Indian people. Black people are not the same as even Arab people. And even in Africa, it has been categorically made clear, point blank, that the African Arabs do not see themselves as Africans, which is why there's so much division within Africa. But that's a topic of another day. I want to talk about this article of itself, and to elaborate more so that Africans, black people, can start understanding that their humanity, the black humanity, is not the same as white humanity. And since black humanity is not the same as white humanity, the crimes that happen in apartheid cannot be as equal. It cannot be considered as a crime to white people in general. And when I mean in general, I mean overall, the whole the entire Western world, and wherever whites are in the world, they don't see apartheid as a crime against humanity. They don't see slavery as a crime against humanity. They don't see colonization as a crime against humanity, which it is a crime against black humanity. And when you put it as black humanity, you now see the difference, because black humanity is not the same as white humanity. So let me see some points that I got from this article, and I will also add some great points that Dr. Umar Johnson made crystal clear. And it is time for black people to start using logic and understanding, to start applying logic and understanding instead of feelings and emotions, because feelings and emotions will take you nowhere. But logic and understanding will control how black people are viewed in the world. So, to many South white Africans, apartheid was not a crime against humanity. There was a there was a study that was done, and according to that study, it was revealed that an overwhelming majority did not believe that apartheid was a crime against humanity. Whites in South Africa do not believe that. A lot of them believe that apartheid was not a crime against humanity, because they're not viewing black humanity as white humanity. They're not looking at the Jewish humanity as the same as white humanity, as the same as black humanity, which is why the Jews could get reparations when they had the Holocaust, but blacks who went through slavery, blacks who went through colonizations, black who went through apartheid cannot get reparation, because their humanity is not viewed as equal to white humanity. They revealed that an overwhelming majority did not believe apartheid was a crime against humanity. There's a statement that it says, when reconciliation is not backed up by any significant reparation, the oppressed cannot fully heal, and the oppressed cannot fully comprehend the extent of the crime. And I'll read that one more time. When reconciliation is not backed up by any significant reparation, the oppressed cannot fully heal, and the oppressor cannot fully understand the content of the crime. The fact that the Klerk and sizable number of whites do not believe that apartheid was a crime against humanity demonstrates not only that they do not recognize the humanity of black people. This is a very interesting fact, because when I saw this, that's why I said I needed to talk about this. Many Africans think they could get reparation. They think that they could truly get independence. Meanwhile, the West is still oppressing Africans through the African leaders. The African leaders must succumb to the West because they need the West. And they need the West because the West has designed Africa to always need the West. So we are free, but we're not truly free. We are free, but we don't have economic freedom. The black humanity, Africans, South Africans, Africans all over the world, the black humanity is not the same as white humanity. How many years was the Holocaust? But they got reparations. How many years was slavery? They're still fighting to get reparation, and they're not even sure they can get reparation. How many years was colonization? You think Africans don't deserve a reparation for colonization? Yes, they do. All African nations that were colonized by any Western nation must seek reparation for the harm done on Africans. But when blacks are talking about reparations, the whites find a way to talk about investment. Meanwhile, the investment that is being done in Africa does not help Africa in no way, but helps the West grow. So, Africans, to successfully get rid of all the nonsense that is happening in Africa, we must once look into the problems that Africa faces. There's a lot of shit that Africans face, and they don't want to understand the logic behind. They use the emotions to try to solve the problems, but we must look at the logic and we must understand what is happening and why it is happening so that we can better solve it. And we cannot solve it by going to the people who contributed to the disaster that Africa is facing in the first place. But when we have leaders, like the type of leaders we have in Africa, the people have no hope. The people are full of hopelessness. So they have no other choice but to turn into the white, who are the slave masters, or the former slave masters, or still the slave masters in a way. In a way, they're still a slave master because blacks depend on them. Because the people of blacks depend on them. We are not truly free. The people of Africa are not truly free when they cannot solve their own issue without seeking from help from other races who are only out to exploit. Now even the whites in Africa see themselves as white South Africans. How can you be in a country you're the majority? In a country, blacks in South Africa are the majority, yet they don't control even a quarter of the wealth of Africa, of South Africa. And it's the same thing as like in the United States. United States, the majorities are the white, but they control the resources, which in a way kind of makes sense because they are the majority. But in South Africa, the blacks are the majority. Why does it makes why can't you see the logic behind it? That if you are the majority, then you should be the majority controlling the resources. It's not the black nationals that in South Africa are causing the issue in South Africa. No. There are people like the Klerk who see apartheid as not a crime against humanity, because it's not a crime against white humanity, the race that matters. It's not a crime against white humanity, but it's a crime against black humanity. That's the difference. Even the UN says, apartheid was a crime against humanity. Well, it's just a way to say that they're supporting. It doesn't mean shit, because the UN doesn't give a damn about Africa. The United Nations does not give a damn about Africa. But they will say that as a way to it's a way to romance the black people that, we have your interests. Meanwhile, they don't. They have their own interest. That's why they're saying what they're saying. Africans more recognize that white supremacy is at work. And to understand white supremacy, you must go to the master of understanding white supremacy. And the master of understanding white supremacy is one and only Dr. Umar Johnson. Yes. Dr. Umar Johnson, he has 4 laws that black people must understand about white supremacy and why South Africa is controlled by few whites. Meanwhile, the majority in South Africa are blacks. These are the 4 laws of white supremacy given to you by the great Dr. Umar Johnson. The 4 primary rules of white supremacy. All white people are racist, meaning that even though they say a majority of whites hold same views as the Klerk, no, according to white supremacy, according to the laws of the white supremacy, all whites in South Africa believe that apartheid wasn't a crime. All, not just majority, all. And that this is applicable even in the United States, all across in Europe. All white people are racist. They want to stay in charge about controlling the resources and opportunities. And this is the reason why the UN even backed and made a statement that they made a statement that apartheid was a crime against humanity, because they're doing that to stay in control. They're making that statement to be in control of the resources, be in control of people, be in control of the opportunities. The second law: white people don't share power with black people. That is why in South Africa, the 10% controls the resources in South Africa, because they don't share power. No matter what they do, you might have a black president in South Africa, but the people who are controlling South Africa are whites. That's just the truth. South Africans, the people who are controlling the resources and controlling the president of South Africa, are the minority. In a way, you don't even think about it. The leaders are put in place because those few white minority in South Africa allow them to do that, because they have made deals with them. Yet, black South Africans to go and kill by black nationals, that they are the one taking their jobs. Meanwhile, the people who are taking your jobs are the whites who control your resources. White supremacy is ruthless. Machiavelli said it best: the ends will always justify the means. These are the 4 laws stated by Dr. Umar Johnson that I'm reading to you. White supremacy is ruthless. Machiavelli said it best: the end will always justify the means. Meaning what? Whites will always be in power, or will always find a way to be in power. Why? Because it benefits them. It doesn't benefit the black people. White supremacy is irreversible, irreconcilable, and irredeemable. Irredeemable. It cannot be saved. It cannot be improved. The blacks want improvement, but they want better life in South Africa. But because of white supremacy, you won't get it. You may kill all the black nationalists. You may drive the black nationalists out of South Africa. You still would not gain anything, because you are not in control, and you don't want to listen to a great leader like Julius Malema, who is giving you the knowledge, who is speaking the truth, who is fighting for black people in South Africa. Not only black people in South Africa, but for black people in all of Africa and out of Africa. He's a leader that speaks for black people. And it's time for black people to understand that they must create their own power based. You want to survive in this world, we will have to create our own power base. But because of colonization, because of apartheid, because of slavery, it has made it very difficult for Africans to really create a strong power base that is for Africa, by Africans. This is King Echu. I'm out till next time.